All right, we are live with romantic suspense author Paige Edwards, and I'm so excited to talk to her today. If you don't know Paige, you are going to be in for a treat tonight. So I'd like to start by reading Paige's biography because I love author bios. They tell so many interesting things about the author, and I have two questions for Paige from this bio. Paige Edwards is a reader's favorite book award finalist and a Forward Indies, Carol Awards, Roan Awards, and Whitney Awards finalist of inspirational romantic suspense novels. She holds a degree in interior design and has worked professionally in that field. Due to her strong British roots, Paige's books are often set in the UK, and she hops the pond whenever she gets the chance. She is styled the Lady Paige Edwards when in Scotland, but her favorite title is Grandma. When she needs a break from writing, she serves as president of her area's interfaith community council, is fond of digging in the dirt, what some might call gardening, biking battlefields, and kayaking the lake. Paige is a member of ACFW and loves to connect with her readers. So, first of all, I have to ask now, why are you styled Lady Paige Edwards in Scotland? Tell me about that.
Okay. Unlike some people, we actually own some property in Scotland, and because it's historic property, a title came with it, Laird and Lady. Now, when we sell the property, the title goes with it. So,
Um,
you
like
see
you
a
have
lot of
a
stuff.
castle?
No,
No,
it's
just
just a
property there.
rocky bunch of, yeah, we have considered immigrating. I'm half Scots, and my husband's a good bit Scottish too. So yeah,
Hey, my ancestors are Scottish too. We're a Campbell clan.
oh, well, we're probably related. I've got a bunch of Campbells up my tree. Yeah, that's
Nice. I
fun.
love that.
Yeah,
So do you go to your property? I mean, do you plan building on your property or anything?
we've considered it. Yes, yeah, we have considered building over there. Yeah,
That is awesome.
yeah.
Mara has joined us and another Leanne. Hi, ladies.
Oh,
Okay,
fun.
the second question I have for you is it says you hop the pond whenever you get the chance. You have a favorite spot in the UK that you just have to go to no matter what?
Oh, when you've got family from all over the place, that's kind of hard. We actually really love the Pitlochry area, which is in the Highlands, but it's not too far north. You can still kind of. It's a beautiful area, and a lot of my family's from Perth.
Hmm. That sounds gorgeous. I would love to go there sometime. Scotland is on my bucket list. I did make it to London and a little
Ooh,
bit of England, but not Scotland yet. So
oh,
someday.
I'm sure you'll go.
I would love to see someone where my ancestors lived, that sort of thing, you know. You know how
That's
it is.
good. Oh yeah, that actually gives some pretty big feelings in your heart when you go
Yep, yep.
land of your forefathers. So yeah.
All right. Well, can you tell us about your publishing journey? How did you get into this crazy business of publishing?
Oh golly, I've always doodled. I just called it doodling and just kind of wrote little stories and plays and things, but I never really took it serious until I was in my early 20s, and my last one was a baby, and I wrote a book, and it was a historical romance, and I loved it, but then I didn't do anything with it. I just had this really strong impression that I needed to set that aside and focus on my kids because I'm easily scattered, and so I just need something to focus on, and it was definitely my children. My husband traveled a lot, worked long hours, and they needed and deserved a present parent. So
Hmm.
after they left home, um, I worked in the design field for a while, and then I thought, you know what? The public is not very nice. I don't enjoy working with them that much anymore. So I
Hmm.
thought, I'll just start writing again. So I talked to my friend Tracy Abramson, and was in my ward, and she goes, "Why don't you join this group called ANWA?" And we meet once a month, and so I started meeting with that group, and a few years later, I submitted a book to Covenant, and they took it, and that was Catherine's Intrigue. So that came out in 2019.
And that was your first book?
Hmm.
Where did you get the idea for that book? Did it just come to you, or did something inspire it?
Um, kind of. I think it was just a little kind of thread from the first novel I wrote in my 20s, and
Mm.
decided to actually write about a descendant of the person that I wrote about in that historical romance. So, and I thought I was going to write a historical romance, and then this crazy story came out, with lots of suspense. And I thought, what happened? Why am I writing this? I can't even watch a scary movie. I have to leave the room. So it was kind of funny.
Did Tracy influence you, do you think?
I don't think so, because we have in our critique group, we have people that write all different genres. So no, she had no bearing on what I chose to write about, which is just really funny.
Just
But
happened.
yeah, I looked back and I thought, oh, I guess maybe I did enjoy a lot of those type of books growing up. I loved Mary Stewart, and I loved Phyllis Whitney, and I loved Victoria Holt, and I read Helen McInnes, all of those. So I'm thinking, yeah, probably that was a big influencer. Plus, I was older.
All right. Did you read Nancy Drew, though, and the Bobbsey twins and all those?
I had every single Nancy Drew book on my shelf that existed. Yeah.
Yep, me too. Me too.
I think it does, don't you? I mean, you've written a lot of suspense novels. Did
I
that have
have.
some bearing or play on your writing, do you think?
Oh, I think so. I've always loved good mystery, suspense. Nancy Drew is my favorite. I read every book that came out of her. So,
Yeah, isn't that great?
yeah. Well, do you think you're ever going to publish your first book that you wrote in your 20s?
No, I just wrote it.
And you're not going to like go back to it or revise or anything? It's just going to be your on the shelf book?
I think that was I didn't even go back and smooth it over. It was just a rough draft,
Oh.
kind of went through the book and wrote it. I don't even think the punctuation was halfway decent on that. And if I could find it, it would probably make me have a fit of the giggles if I read it.
Yeah, I think everybody has that one book that's never going to see the light of day.
Probably not.
Mara said she read Phyllis Whitney and Victoria Holt in her late teens and 20s. So, and
Ah,
Leanne, oh no, Melissa said she loved mysteries growing up too. So we have a lot of mystery people with us. Our people are here, Paige.
very cool. Hi, guys.
Um, all right. Well, where do you get your ideas mostly? Because how many books have you written now?
6, maybe?
Yeah. So where are your ideas coming from? Are they just popping into your head, or where do they mostly come from?
I'm trying to think. Well, Danger on the Lock actually came from I had just taken a DNA test, and ho hum, I'm 50% Scots. And so I thought, wouldn't
What?
it be fun if I wrote a book about a girl that took a DNA test? And right about the same time that I did that, I read an article in England. I read a lot of their papers over there, and this man had inherited an estate after taking a DNA test. His father was an earl, and he didn't inherit the title, obviously, but he inherited the estate after his father passed, after he had proved who he was, because his
Right.
father didn't have a legitimate heir. So I thought, what if, that could be really a fun kind
Yeah.
of what if wish fulfillment kind of thing. So that was where
Yeah.
that one came from.
What if is always the best start to a story. What if?
Yeah, yeah, we have crazy minds.
My mind just runs with it, and next thing you know, I'm starting a new book.
Yep, yep. You just need that little spark, whatever's going to trigger it.
That's right. Well, you've also done quite a few collaborations. How many collections have you done?
I've done one anthology that just came out, and then I had this crazy idea in 2019. I shouldn't say crazy idea. I had this, I don't know, like a dream, and I saw these 3 children running, and they were just in silhouette running for their lives, being separated by war and never to see each other again in real life during their lifetime. And then their descendants coming back together and finding each other where they were from. And so I was telling Tracy about this as we were driving up to meet Sean Bessie up at the Smithsonian when Sean flew out to be out here with their daughter. And we started talking and thought, what if we wrote one novel and we each took a part of one of those descendants and get a historical writer to write the front leg of the journey and then did a time hop. And so I had just texted Amanda Sowards, A.L. Sowards, and said, hey, Amanda, you do a lot of World War I, World War II. Would you be interested? And Amanda says she never, ever likes to do that kind of thing, but she said yes. So we all just felt this inspiration for it. And it was really, I think it was a lot more work than all of us anticipated, but yeah.
And which one did that end up being?
That's Heirs of Falcon Point.
Oh, Heirs of Falcon. And isn't there a sequel to that? I feel like there's a sequel to that.
Yeah. What we did was Tracy and Sean decided they wanted to write a suspense line off of some of their characters. I'm going to do romance off of mine, and Amanda's continuing the story for each of the three children in the historical section.
So how many books will it end up being? Are those all novellas or actual books?
No, those will be novels, but we all wrote the first one together and then we're kind of spinning off. So.
Wow. That is a big project, and that's a lot of work probably, but kind of exciting at the same time.
Yeah. So our readers know these characters, but they're getting to know them better. How's that? In their own little stories. So.
And so it's spin off from supporting characters. It's not a continuation of the main.
No, those are the main characters. Yeah.
Oh.
And those three children that Amanda wrote about, each one of them gets a story as well.
Oh, your fans are going to love that, I'm sure.
Well, I just beta read Amanda's first book of the first child. I'm not going to even say who it was. And
no spoilers.
Loved it. How's that? I absolutely loved it.
Do you have release dates for those at all?
Amanda doesn't. Tracy and Sean's comes out next month in October.
And what's the name of that one?
That one's Danger with Diamonds.
Danger with Diamonds. Okay. Yeah, I missed those ones. I didn't read them, so darn it. Well, let's talk a little bit about Sinister Secrets collection. So your story, In Plain Sight, features an undercover agent, drug cartels, witnesses that should see things they shouldn't and needing to be protected. Did you have to do a lot of research for that?
I actually ended up doing more than I expected to. Where I live, about 1 in 3 people work for the government in some capacity or other, and most of them have top secret clearances, including my spouse. So I know a lot of FBI agents, a lot of people that work at the CIA in one area or another. But there was a guy that I knew that he was on the special teams at Quantico, which is literally, I could probably throw a rock from my house when they're doing their war games up there. I have to go straighten picture frames. How's that?
Yeah.
So, really close to the FBI Academy and that World Forensics Lab up there that they have. And then they also house the special teams for the FBI up there as well in a different facility. So he let me interview him, and I got a lot of information out of him. But we laughed and said, for a case to be solved by an FBI agent, that would never happen. It's usually about 50 of them because each one has their own little compartment that they work on. So it's probably pretty much a fairy tale story. And I went and gave him a book last week, and he just kind of laughed. And I says, "Hey, it's pretty much a fairy tale," but he gave me a lot of
entertainment, and we love it, so it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, he gave me a lot of good information about what went on with the teams and stuff, so I was able to use that.
Yeah, and it felt authentic to me. I mean, I know, like you said, it probably would never happen in real life, but I mean, you look at TV shows like lawyer shows or doctor shows, and everybody in that profession would be like, no, that would never happen in a million years. So it's probably the same with fiction, I would imagine.
Yeah, pretty much. But it was really fun. And I had another friend that worked as an FBI actor up at, we call it Q Town, but it's up there where Hogan's Alley, where they have a real fake town at Quantico, where
Yeah.
they run the FBI agents through stuff. We have another guy that teaches driving, defensive driving up there. So, I mean, I've got a lot of people to pull from. I'm very, very lucky. So I thought, why not put those two together and come up with a story?
Did they tell you anything that like was kind of surprising to you or any secrets that you can share?
Not that one, but I had another friend that actually trained the special teams, and he talked about a case that he had done a few years ago that was rather surprising, and I hope I can use it in the future.
Can you give
So,
us a little sneak peek or teaser?
um, probably not.
Come on, Paige, one
Use it.
little line, one little hint.
Okay, one little thing is he says no real big exciting things ever happen when you're put on the back detail of a building or something, but that time it did. So, and
Oh,
he happened to be there, so that was kind of fun.
that is a good teaser. You're good at hints. Mara said she'd never heard of that fake FBI town before she read your story. So, see, you're educating us as you write, as we read your books.
There we go.
Well, yours was pretty much the only romance in that collection, but I just love how you write the characters and it seems like realistic, I thought, because sometimes suspense romances are quick and it doesn't feel quite authentic, but I thought yours did a really good job with that, especially for a novella. Did you have to really work to flesh out their moments and how the romance was going to go along? Was it always going to be a romantic suspense?
Yeah, I like kissing books, so I've got to have something in there to put a little spark into it. I doubt that I will ever write a thriller or just straight suspense. I just don't know if I'm capable of doing it. So I
Yeah.
had to put that in there, and my readers kind of expect it from me. So
Yeah. Did you read the other two books in the novella collection before it came out? So
I
you knew
did.
that yours was the only romance, really?
I knew that it was after they were written. Yeah.
Hmm.
And like I said, Tracy's in my critique group, so I saw bits and snatches of hers before anyway, as it was developing.
Yeah. Do you like writing in novellas or do you prefer books?
That was my first one. It was a little bit harder to get used to because, with romantic suspense, those are much more complex plots than a
Yeah.
romance. Um, and trying to pack that into a novella was a little tricky. It took me about almost 2/3 the length of putting together a regular novel just because I was learning. It had a
Yeah.
big learning curve. So,
Well, and the pacing has to be shorter as well because you're trying to get a lot of information in a short word count. So that's what's hard for me.
yeah, and you can't have the B story, so you
Yeah.
just got to have it all straight right there up front, which my editor kept saying, you have too much stuff going on in your story. So I had to cut out a lot.
Do you think you'll ever write a full-blown novel from that? Like go back and revise it or just leave it as a novella?
um, I don't think Covenant will let me, change it and turn it into a full length. But I would dare bet my readers will see those characters again. They were really fun. And the mother, I really enjoyed her.
Yeah. Do you
She was,
ever give like deleted scenes to the people in your newsletter or anything like that? Any
yeah,
little bonus
sometimes I
bits?
do. I
Yeah.
I need to be better about that, but yeah, I'm writing a prequel to Facing the Enemy right now, just a short thing, and I'm trying to decide whether I'm going to give that to my newsletter as a reader magnet or if I'm going to, publish a novella for it.
Hmm. Interesting. Well, if you're not on Paige's newsletter, you might want to get on and get all those little bonus bits. So tell me about your critique group. You've mentioned it a couple of times.
Yeah, we've got a great group of women. One writes like thousand. Oh gosh, her book's probably almost 1,000 pages. She's an epic fantasy, and we've got another one that's kind of YA fantasy, sci-fi kind of, and another one that writes historical romance. And then there's Tracy, and then there's me. So,
And
like
how
I
did you
said,
find each other?
um, we all signed up for ANWA, and we live in a geographic area, so they put us together.
Oh. And how long have you been together?
This group, I mean, they kind of come and go, you know. This group's probably been together a couple years. We got together, our newest member joined during COVID.
Oh.
So
So how do you work it? Like you just exchange chapters or?
yeah, we exchange like 5 pages a month, you know.
Oh, only 5 pages a month. Wow.
Yeah,
That's
it's
short.
not much. Yeah, it's not much. And then I have a critique partner that I work with, and she and I exchange. And then Kathy Peterson and A.L. Sowards and I, we kind of beta read for each other.
Nice. Well, okay, let's go back to that. So tell me your writing process. So you get the idea, and then what happens?
It's a disaster. I am the most disorganized person on the planet. I need to learn how to be more organized. Then I just start trying to get my major plot points down. But
Mm-hmm.
I usually will work on characterization before anything else, because if I don't know my characters, I don't know how they're going to respond to certain situations. That's just me. I like to develop my characters. I like fully developed characters before I start.
So you're a plotter then, you're not a pantser.
Call me a hybrid, maybe, because I will not write my scenes out. I just know my major plot points. That's it. And that always changes.
Hmm. All right, so you have your characters, you've got your major plot points, then what?
Then I just start writing.
And then you write. How long does it take you?
Too long. If I am sticking to a word count, a dedicated word count, it probably take me 6 months. I'm a slow writer. I don't just sit and have it pour down. I am definitely squirrel, you know. So yeah, it's really hard for me. I really need to learn to just turn off the internet and just stay in my room and not allow myself to leave until I'm done.
That is hard. Distractions are hard.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I did better when my husband wasn't working from home.
Oh, well, yeah, that can be a game changer.
Yeah. Well, you know what it's like. You're deep in whatever, and then he'll open the door and ask a question, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
Well, especially when you're in the groove, you're in the zone, and then somebody interrupts you. It's like, oh, where was I? I'm trying to get back in the groove can be hard sometimes.
Yeah. So that's where I am. But I think, you know, this winter I'll probably go to a lot of coffee shops or go down to the library.
Yeah. So you finish your book. Then what? Yeah. Then what happens? You give it to your critique group, your beta readers.
And I give it to my beta readers, and I try and get people of different ages so that they give good feedback from, you know, many different kind of a multifaceted group to see what they have to say. And I like them when they're a little bit meaner to me, because obviously I need to fix a lot of things, you know. So it's good, and they usually all catch different things.
Yeah.
And then you go back, you know what it's like. You go back and you fix and you fix and you fix. And when you finally feel like you hate the book and you can't look at it any longer, then you submit it, right?
Yeah. Do you ever argue with your editors or beta readers and say, no, I want that scene in?
I don't really argue with them.
You just quietly lobby?
There have only been a couple of times that I've really explained why I couldn't do something, and there were reasons for it, but usually I will listen to what they have to say and try and incorporate it in some way. Yeah.
You're very diplomatic.
I am really blessed. I have an incredible editor. I really, really do. I really love my editor. I have Ashley Biebert.
Oh, nice. All right,
Right.
so after your beta readers have read it, then you submit to your editor, and then you just wait to hear, and that's the end of it, and you start the next one.
Hmm.
That's awesome. Everyone's process is so different, isn't it? Every writer has a different way.
Yeah. I would love to be able to say I'm doing 2 or 3 at a time, but I would get confused.
You know, right? I can only do one book at a time too. Jennifer Peel just said she was doing 2 books at a time, but one's historical fantasy and one is romantic comedy. So she feels like they're different enough that she can do it. And I thought, yeah, that's probably the way to do it if you're going to.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think I
Now,
can do.
don't you write a couple of different genres or do you do a couple of different eras?
Well, I wrote 3 Regency romances a few years back. I've only written the 3, and then beyond that, it's just been the suspense. Well, okay, I did write a children's book last year.
Aha.
You
That
caught me. You caught me. But
was a neat book, by the way.
thanks. The new one, the new children's book comes out in November, so
Ooh,
I'm super excited about that. At
look
least
at
I'll have the release
you.
this year.
Nice. Were you getting tired of suspense or you just had these books inside of you? Sorry, I'm interviewing you now.
No, never tired of suspense. Second Guess should be out the end of October. Crossing our fingers. I'm doing the final edits on it, so I've been tinkering with that since my illness, so I'm excited for that. But no, never tired of suspense. But the children's book are kind of just an homage to my grandmother, who is the star of the books, and my Métis heritage, because not a lot of people know about that culture. So it's
Uh-uh.
kind of fun to, educate them and show people the ins and outs of a really beautiful, beautiful people and culture. So
Very cool. Very cool.
thanks. All right, I have to ask you, what is the worst part of being a writer for you?
Uh, doing things in front of people, maybe. This
Putting
is getting easier because I feel like I'm talking to a friend here, but yeah, doing live events used to scare me. They don't so much anymore, but
Yeah,
um, having to, I still, they talk about imposter syndrome when people come up to you and want you to sign
yeah,
their books. I always feel so awkward,
yeah.
story, that I don't know how it came out of me. I don't even know how it was written when I finally see the finished product. And I feel
Mm,
kind of silly putting my name on it. Yeah.
really? But you're
Hmm.
so good at it. But I understand, I really do. Do you read your own reviews? I know some readers do, or some writers do, and some don't.
I do because I want to improve. I'm always trying to improve. I'm always studying the craft, always. And
Yeah.
that's just something I made up my mind. I just want to be a better writer, and
Mhm.
I want to touch hearts through what I write. I don't necessarily do it for the money, but I definitely do it to touch people's lives. And if I can, you know, through
Yeah.
the theme or whatever of the book, then yeah. So I don't know. I
If you
don't know.
get a bad review, does it like hurt your writing process? Or hurt your when you're in the groove?
No, I look at it. You can usually tell if somebody just doesn't care for that genre, and
Yeah.
I always kind of think to myself, then why did they read the book? If you don't enjoy that genre, don't read the book, and certainly don't give a bad review. I don't give bad reviews to anyone. Once you start writing, you realize how much hard work and effort goes into a book. I wouldn't do that to anyone's career. If I didn't care for the book, I won't put a review out.
Sure. Well, I did read a review on Sinister Secrets today that said that Paige Edwards was a new to me author and they would be getting more of your books. So I thought, isn't that
Oh,
a great little,
that's nice.
helpful thing that collections do? They introduce new authors and new readers to each other. I love that part.
Yeah, I had never read any of Claire's books before, so that was kind of fun for me to read
Yeah.
his. So he's
Yeah,
been
his
out for a
thing,
while.
his seem more like a police procedural to me. They're very detailed, and
Hmm.
I'm more of a fluffy, give me a romance and a suspense. So I'm not saying it was bad now. Not saying that at all, but I think yours was my favorite of the collection. Just
Aw,
the romance was so sweet. And
That's
you've got
really
such a good meet cute. I mean, in that coffee shop, do you have one nearby that you based it on?
it was kind of a combination of a bunch of them, but there is an old house up in that direction. I thought that'd be fun. That would be really cute if they had turned that into a coffee shop. So, and I
Yeah,
have seen some older homes, throughout Northern Virginia where they've done stuff like that, where they've turned them into fun little stores and thought
yeah.
that would be really kind of a fun place to convert into a coffee shop.
Yeah, I thought you did so great on the setting. It felt real. It felt like a place you could go to. And the people, you felt like there were people you could be friends with. I mean, don't you think? I love how you write strong women too, that it wasn't the damsel in distress that needs to be rescued. I mean, she was smart. She wasn't just like, oh, I'm not supposed to go in this dark forest where I can be shot at and killed, maybe? Sometimes those books just, no, no, we want a strong woman. So I loved that your heroine was a strong woman.
I'm glad you enjoyed her. I'm not sure if all of my heroines are strong, but she was. She was definitely, knew what she wanted and she was bound and determined to get it.
And that's how you characterized her from the beginning, correct? Since you do your characterizations first.
Hmm.
So someone's asking, was Cody in another book of yours?
No, but I would dare bet he's going to show up. I really enjoyed him. He was really fun to write, and I think we'll be seeing more of Cody.
Yeah, he was a great hero. Very swoon worthy, if I do say so myself.
Thank you. Glad you
Mhm.
enjoyed him.
Well, tell me the best part of being a writer for you.
You know, my favorite part is when you're coming together, your story's coming together, and all of a sudden you have that inspiration for the perfect ending. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, of course, it's just like magic and little tingles and the whole thing. That is, yeah, you're nodding your head. You know exactly what I mean. It's
Yeah.
like, of course, that has to be the end of this story. So yeah.
So you liked when it all comes together in a pretty bow.
Yeah. Well, I just like that finishing point because you're never really sure. I mean, I know kind of how I want it to end, but I don't know how well it's going to end. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sometimes it's hard for me to end it. I think I'm gonna edit it to death. I could tinker with it and change it. And sometimes I just have to tell myself, just you have to be done. You have to end it right now and just be done.
Yeah.
So that can be hard sometimes when you want to tinker and the perfectionism.
Yes.
So are you mostly a good beginner or a good ender when you write? Are you super strong at the beginning and then you have to work on the saggy middle and the end? Or are you good at the end?
I hate middles.
You
I
hate the
really
middle?
hate middles, but I'm finding I have never written one of my books the same way because we had too much disruption in our family, extended family, for about 3.5 years.
Hmm.
So I'm trying to get back into the discipline that I had earlier. But
Yeah.
I find that if I have really thought through my story well enough, the end comes very easily. Um, and the middle isn't necessarily so hard if I've got my story in the right direction. When I get stuck, I know I have done something that I need to fix.
Yeah. So your prep work is really important to your story structure.
Yeah.
Hmm. Interesting. So tell me what you're working on now. I'm dying to know.
Well, I started the second book in my Roxbury Heirs series. So I'm
Mm,
just kind of starting to tinker with that a little bit and plotting out the rest of the plot points and just playing with the opening because this is something I have never dealt with in my life. I mean, I've there are horses involved, okay? Lots of horses. So, um, and I've never owned a horse. I've ridden them. I lived up in the foothills of the Chatsworth Mountains in Southern California growing up, and so we would go riding up there all the time. But I've never actually owned a horse, but I have good friends that do out here. So
So are you going to do research? Are you going to go with your friends and figure out how to be a horsewoman?
I'm definitely talking to my girlfriend and her sister, who's a vet, and getting lots of cool stuff. and then I will be going back to the UK because horse racing is involved. So,
I was just going to say, are you going to take another trip back to the UK before the book comes out?
oh yeah, I'm sure. We were just there for a month earlier this year in May and June, but we'll be going back. We go back just about every year when there's no COVID, right? So,
Oh, I know. Let's hope that's long gone so we can all travel.
yes, yes, yeah. So that should be fun. It's a different kind of story, and it's some side characters that my readers have met before. So
Hmm. Any hints as to what it's about? A
I
little
can't tell
hint?
you anymore.
One little tiny hint. Come on. One
Horses and
secret.
people they've seen.
We won't tell. No one will tell.
No,
Paige,
sorry.
you're too good at secrets. That's probably why you're a suspense writer.
Probably, or I just don't know what it's all going to do. I have a good idea how it's going to end. I just have to figure out the major plot points on it still.
Yeah. So somebody mentioned that Tracy doesn't like writing kissing scenes, but you don't have a problem with that.
No, no. I don't like um I don't like writing suspense scenes. How's that? It's like pulling teeth to get me to write those parts. I don't scare myself when you have to work that hard to write a suspense scene. It's not scary because it takes forever to get through it. Well, when
Yeah.
it takes a long time. Kissing scenes don't bother me at all.
Well, that's good to know because you're really good at them. So I'm glad they just flow for you. All right. So tell me what you're reading right now. What's on your nightstand?
Oh golly, let's see. I need to open my iPad. I read so much and I read so fast that I literally don't remember the names of the books. How's that?
So
I
you're kind of
love
like, are you a whale reader where you just gulp the whole thing in one sitting?
in a couple sittings. I'll go to bed fairly early so that I can read, and then my husband will get upset, so I'll go finish reading on the couch, and I do a lot of binge reading that way. But I love to read. That's why we started writing, right?
That's right. So do you listen to audiobooks? Do you do Kindle or paperback?
I don't do audio. I just don't do audio. I have not listened to one of my books on audio either. I just
You just can't. I
mm-mm.
liked listening to my book on audio because the narrator just brought it to life for me. I'm like, it was so crazy to hear my story, like listening to these. I don't know. It's just like almost like I was watching a play or something in my head when they were reading it to me. I loved listening to my book on audio.
Oh, that's cool. Now, do you get to pick your voice actors?
I do. We go through an audition process and I get to pick. And the one I have is absolutely amazing. He does all the accents because I have a lot of American, UK, Canadian, Middle Eastern, and he does all of the accents. So
That's
love him.
fabulous. Yeah, I
He's
listen
an
to
actor in LA, so he knows a lot of stuff.
wow. Yeah, started one of my earlier books, and it didn't sound anything like what I expected, and I turned it off after like
Mm,
chapter two. I couldn't do it, and the
yeah,
accents were not.
correct.
No.
Oh dear. Yeah, that can be hard. If it's not what you envisioned, then yeah. So you don't listen to audiobooks. Do you do Kindle or paperback?
I do both. I
Both.
do both. I think as time is going on, I'm doing more Kindle now than I used to. I used to really, really like paperback because it doesn't hurt my eyes or whatever. But now, we've gotten better about wrecking people's eyes with electronics. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was totally in the paperback team paperback until I got my Kindle Paperwhite. Oh, I love it. I can have like 1,000 books in there. So if I finish one, I just go on to the next and I
Yep.
can read without bothering my husband. It's just, I love my
Oh,
Paperwhite.
that's so nice. Mimi Matthews is one of my favorites that I've
I
read.
just discovered her. I've been
Really?
reading her Parish Orphans series. I don't know how I have missed her books before, but I just discovered her and I've been binge reading her.
I really like her. I like her stuff, and I also like Michelle Greep. I don't know
Yeah,
if
she's
you've
great.
read her.
Love her.
She's really
Love
good.
her.
I'm trying to think who else. I really like, and I love Nicole Van. I think I read more historical
Yeah.
than I read suspense or mystery, which is weird. I don't know why, but
I
yeah.
just put the Mimi Matthews, she's having a free book right now. And
Oh,
I just put it in the book club chat earlier today. So I hope people got that and try her because she is so good. It's The Work of Art is one that's free, the Mimi Matthews book that's free. So I hope people get it because I just love her style. She
yeah,
just has
she's
this way of
really good.
characterizing, and yeah, the story was good. And I stayed up way, way too late, way past when I should have been in bed to finish. Like, I just had to see what was going to happen next. Don't you love it when you find books like that?
Yes, yes, it's so fun to binge read a really, you know that you're in good hands when you crack one of her books open. I also
Yeah.
like Heidi, I can't say her name. She's Norwegian. Heidi Lar, oh golly, what is her name? She does a lot of art mystery things during World War II.
I don't think
That
I've
are
ever heard of her.
she was up for a Whitney Award, I think, last year. I don't know. I really like her. And
Hmm.
she's a kind of a newer to me author as well.
Yeah,
So
and her last name is Norwegian, you say?
yeah, it starts with a it's Heidi Elar. Oh, golly, let me see if I can find it right now. She's she's really good. Um,
I'll have to try and look her up.
I might have to text it to you, but yeah,
Or
I
you can
really,
put it in the book chat later.
yes, I will. Yeah, I will definitely do that. I like her, but so many of them I read, and I this is bad to say. I'll start, and I probably don't get 3 pages in, and nope, not for me.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
That's not terrible. I mean, when there's so many great books out there, if it's not going to catch your attention right away, got to
Mm,
move on to the next. I
yeah,
used to have to suffer through to the very end, but I'm like you now. It's like, no, and there's just not enough time to read all the books I want to read. So,
yeah, yeah,
oh
definitely.
my goodness. Well, do we have any other questions from our audience for Paige? Mara said she loves audiobooks and I get the accents and can multitask. That's my hardest thing with audiobooks is because sometimes my mind will wander and then I've missed some. So then I have to rewind and it's like, no,
Uh-huh.
I can't do audio.
Yeah.
But they said there are narrators that ruin books. I agree with that. And another Mimi Matthews and Michelle Greep fan and Nicole Van. I hope we're saying her name right. Is it Greep? I thought it was Greep.
I
G R.
think it's grape. Yeah.
Well, I hope we're not massacring it.
Yeah. She just was up for a Carol Award. I don't think she won. I was out there at the ACFW conference a couple weeks ago in St. Louis, and
Hmm.
she's a Christian writer, but
Yeah.
she does a lot of those Victorian mysteries
Yeah.
that are
Well, I
fun.
did win Best Audiobook last year for the Roan Awards with my actually in my Regency romance. I had a London actress do it, Jessica Lisa Boyd, and oh, I love her accent. I
Ooh, I'm
could
gonna have to
listen to her.
listen now.
Yeah, I could listen to her read a phone book, and she just has that voice that you're going, oh, tell me more.
Oh, fun. Was it all poshy?
Yes, very poshy, and she made my words sound, super cool, like actually Regency. So
Oh, that's awesome. I'm going to have to go listen now.
yeah, you should totally. Oh man. All right. Well, I have loved having you. It's been nice to catch up a little bit. I haven't talked to you for a while, so
Yeah.
great to catch
Yeah.
up. And I
Thank you
appreciate you
so much.
coming.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It was fun. It was great to see you and talk to you again, Julie. And I'm
All right.
thrilled with your new job and with Meridian Magazine. And that's way cool.
Thank you. I just love sharing great books with people. So if I can steer them to a great book, then my job is worth it. Oh, well, thank you so much. And if you want to post later on in the book chat when you think of the name of the author, please do.
I
And if you
will.
think of any more questions for Paige, just ask in the comments.
All right.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye bye.
Bye.